This has to be one of the strongest hunter builds I've come across. Over the past 3 weeks, I've been testing and playing with all of the roaming supers in Destiny 2. That way I could bring you videos covering some of the most invigorating and fun builds. Little did I know that I would stumble upon one of my new favorite hunter builds. Let's get into it. Build crafting in Destiny can be really boring. No, seriously, sometimes it feels like you only have 2 options to pick from, but that makes it feel incredible when you finally craft and perfect a build that feels so entangled and intricate that's like looking at one of those suspect lists for police boards. Well, this is one of those builds, and it all centers around one thing: Woven Mail. This buff offers you a 45% damage resistance, and any endgame player knows that damage resistance is the key to survival. So the first red line that I want to connect is to our exotic. We're taking the exotic class item with Spirit of Cyrtarachne. Now this build becomes really strong when you have both perks, but for now, all you need to worry about is getting Spirit of Cyrtarachne. And this makes it so that whenever you use your grenade ability, we gain the incredibly strong Woven Mail. The next red line that I want to draw is to the aspect Gunpowder Gamble. With it, we can get kills with weapons, abilities, and even elemental debuffs to start working up stacks. At 6 stacks, you gain a grenade charge that's an ignition on a stick. Now this is really strong for ad clearing and stunning those unstoppable champions, but it importantly gives you a way to consistently get back a grenade charge as long as you keep killing. But I wanted to take this even further, so the next line I'm drawing is actually gonna split into 2. This line goes to our grenade, and we're taking the grapple grenade. The first reason for this is because we can create tangles. Now we can get a free grenade charge by grappling to that tangle. And the second reason I'm taking grapple is so that we can use it for the melee damage we get. See, the grapple melee actually counts as both grenade and melee damage, but we'll talk on why that's important in a minute. I also love to bring the threaded spike melee to make it easier to create those tangles. Plus, it will refund itself if you catch it after it deals damage to enemies. So this means that our normal abilities are both darkness damage, and our Gunpowder Gamble is light damage, but it won't be used as frequently. And that's why I tend to bring a good ad clearing primary weapon that deals light damage, like the Sunshot or Graviton Lance. Now you'll be constantly feeding back both your light and darkness meters to go transcendent more often. And when you transcend, you can spam those grenades to constantly have that Woven Mail. So to recap, we have numerous ways to gain Woven Mail. Grapple can be used multiple times with no cooldown when using tangles. Gunpowder Gamble will constantly recharge itself just by getting kills. And by constantly dealing light and darkness damage, we transcend more often to spam those grenades, all of which will give you back Woven Mail. The dawning is here. That means it's the holiday season, the season of joy and gifting. That also means it's time to tell your loved ones that you want to throw away that old console and upgrade to a shiny new gaming PC. Well, good news for you, I've partnered with Apex Gaming PCs to bring you some top-notch gaming PCs. No matter if it's your first PC or if you're just looking for an upgrade, my PC lineup has got you covered. You can use code LUCKY to save 10% at checkout. With that being said, let's jump right back into the video. These are the main components of the build and what makes it so powerful, but I've crafted ways to improve on it even more. With the update to roaming supers, I thought it'd be a good idea to play into a pretty strong ad clearing super. That is Silk Strike. With this super, we can use our light attack to deal some pretty decent single target damage. Or you can use your heavy attack, which does a wide sweeping motion, dealing less damage but hitting all targets around you. This is important to note because one of the main reasons I'm bringing the super is so that I can pair it with Spirit of Galnor to make it one of the most broken combinations. See, with Spirit of Galnor, we can gain back up to 50% of our super from getting hits or killing enemies. This guarantees about 25% back if you only have a single target like a boss. But if you have a bunch of enemies, it's really easy to get back that 50%. So to get back the other 50% of our super, I'm tying a line back to our grenade, the grapple. As I mentioned, when you deal damage with the grapple, it counts as both a melee and a grenade. So I planned on bringing armor mods that could fully take advantage of it, but we'll touch on those in the mod section. For now, the important thing to note is that our grapple does melee and grenade damage. So let's talk fragments. First up, I'm bringing Facet of Blessing. Now our melee kills will start health regeneration. And since our constant Woven Mail will be absorbing most of the damage for us, we want to bring ways to gain back health, which is why I also like to bring Facet of Mending, so that our grenades, yes, all 3 grenades, will cure us on kills, giving us a burst of health. Gunpowder Gamble and Grapple are both strong and can deal AoE damage, making it fairly easy to guarantee a kill, and in turn, that burst of health. Then we bring Facet of Dawn. That way, powered melee hits will make us radiant, and powered melee kills will make teammates radiant to give us an extra 25% weapon damage. And yes, this counts for both the grapple and the threaded spike. So I then bring Facet of Awakening. This mainly lets us create more fire sprites, since we'll be using a solar primary weapon, and in turn feeding back into our grenade energy. Though if you do get rapid kills with Strand, you'll also create tangles, feeding back into more darkness transcendent energy and more free grapple grenades. Finally, I'm bringing Facet of Protection. That way, while surrounded, we take 15% less damage. This mainly gives you a bit more safety when using those grapple melees. The only other thing to mention for our subclass is our second aspect. I went with Stylus Executioner. While this can give the grapple melee a weakening effect, the main reason I take it is so that I can go invisible if I need a moment to reset. And speaking of resetting, why don't you take a moment to mentally reset and hit that like button? Okay? Done? Let's get back into it. So what does this look like in action? Well, there are a lot of moving pieces to this build, but the main thing to know is to use any and all grenades as much as possible. We can proc Woven Mail and Cure from Grapple, Gunpowder Gamble, and Prismatic Grenades, and we can proc Health Regen and Radiant from our Threaded Spike and Grapple melee kills. Then you can pop your super to wipe out a ton of enemies or to deal some decent boss damage, getting back up to 50% from getting hits or kills. So when it comes to improving the build, for stats, I like to shoot for 100 in resilience and discipline. Then I'm aiming for a mix of mobility and strength. That way I can have a high uptime on my grenade for more Woven Mail, but also still keep a shorter cooldown for our melee. And for those armor mods, first up for the helmet mods, I like to take a Siphon mod. Since I like taking Sunshot as my primary weapon, I like to bring a Solar Siphon mod. But if you are taking a different primary weapon, then make sure this mod matches that weapon. Then I bring Hands On. Since our melee and grenade both give melee damage, this offers us a faster way to gain back the last 50% for our super. You could swap this out for Ashes to Assets if you find that you don't use that powered melee that often. And finally, I bring Heavy Ammo Finder. That way I can generate more overall heavy ammo for boss DPS phases. As for the gauntlets, first up I'm bringing Heavy Handed. That way our powered melee kills will create an orb, though it does have a 10-second cooldown. And then I bring Focusing Strike and Impact Induction. That way our powered melee attacks will refund both our dodge and our grenade. As for the chest mods, we want to bring 3 resistance mods. Since this build uses grapple and needs you to get up close and personal, I like to bring in melee resistance paired with 2 elemental resistances. Though the most important thing is to match the activity or the threat. And for the leg mods, I like to bring 3 weapon surges. For me, this means 3 stasis weapon surges. That way I can bring a strong backup stasis special and heavy weapon. Though you could swap out one of these to match your primary weapon if you do want to be able to have a bit more ad clearing potential with it. And as for the class mods, I first bring Bomber. That way, whenever we use our class ability, we get a bump of grenade energy. Then I bring Time Dilation, so that way we can keep our weapon surge active for longer. And then finally I bring Powerful Attraction. Now we collect any nearby orbs by using our class ability. And that brings us to the artifact perks. Since this season isn't really about Strand or Solar, there isn't a ton of synergies that you can do for your abilities. The main ones I like to bring would be the authorized melee mods. That way all of those melee based armor mods that we just mentioned will only cost 1 energy. Then you can bring Concussive Reload if you're bringing a grenade launcher. That way when you break a shield, hit a champion, or a boss, you'll weaken them. And then I also bring a heavy grenade launcher. So that means I can take kinetic impacts and deal a bit more damage with it. And finally, you can bring Curative Orbs. This not only makes it so that you create an orb the first time you break an enemy shield, but you can also boost it. That way all those tangles, orbs, and fire sprites that you'll be making will also give you a bump of health. And finally, that brings us to our weapons. In the kinetic slot, I love bringing a backup DPS weapon or a utility weapon. Lost Signal is a stasis area denial grenade launcher, which excels at dealing passive damage, generating a ton of darkness transcendent energy, and even taking advantage of those artifact perks. Or you can bring a chill clip weapon like Tanisha's Mastery, giving you another way to stun both Overload and Unstoppable champions. For the energy slot, my favorite option is Sunshot. It's a good ad clearing weapon that can deal solar damage to create more fire sprites. But alternatively, any solar weapon with Incandescent and Heal Clip is a solid option, offering you on-demand healing, more fire sprites for grenade energy, and even proccing invisibility more often. In the heavy slot, I bring the best DPS weapon possible. For me and many others, that means Chill Inhibitor. Ever since Bungie decided to give away the God Roll for this weapon, many people have access to one of, if not the best DPS weapon around. Alternatively, you could bring a solar heavy like Parasite if you aren't using the Sunshot. That way you can still match to your weapon surges. Well, there you have it, Guardians. I've just covered a build that gives you nearly unlimited access to Woven Mail, healing, super regeneration, and even transcendent energy. But if you want to see some Warlock builds that use roaming supers, then go check out this video here. But remember, mastering this build is only the beginning. Experiment with different combinations and tweak your loadouts to suit your playstyle. If you found this video helpful or just enjoyed seeing a new perspective, feel free to like the video and comment down below on what you might change or how you'd improve the unlimited Woven Mail build. Keep an eye out for future videos as we continue to explore the ever-evolving world of Destiny 2. Until then, may the threads of fate be ever in your favor. This is Lucky Mech, signing off. See you on the next adventure, Guardians.